Okay, so Anant, thank you for taking the time to participate in this interview. It's going to be very valuable, I think, for people at Waterloo and perhaps beyond. But you're the chief executive of edX, having also had a very distinguished academic career. Can you tell us first how your career led you to this position?
It was, quite completely by happenstance, I would say. Um, I was, uh, I've been a professor at MIT for 30 years. And over the past 15 years, starting in the early part of, oh my God, this century, my colleagues and I at MIT had been playing around with various forms of online education. I myself had built a online circuits laboratory called WebSim. You can even go now and look at the legacy site if you Google WebSim and my name or MIT. And you could think of that as almost like a MOOC laboratory. 15 years ago, 300 students a day would come to the site and do circuits labs completely online with audio and music and graphs and so on, all through simulation. Um, MIT had also launched OpenCourseWare, which was content available for learners all over the world for free, and certainly my own course was available as OpenCourseWare on the same MIT OpenCourseWare site. So so around 2011, we were very inspired by the kind of work that Salman Khan was doing with Khan Academy. Curiously, he was my student at MIT, so this was the chickens coming home to roost, so to speak. And instead of just doing an online circuits laboratory or putting our course materials on the web, we saw some Sebastian Thrun at Stanford had himself been inspired by Sebastian Thrun and OpenCourseWare, and he had put his course online for students to take all over the world from out of Stanford. And so, inspired by all of these activities, I decided that wouldn't it be cool if we did something similar and put not just one course, my own circuits course or a circuits lab, but put all of our content online. And a number of people at MIT, the leadership at MIT at the time, and I brainstormed for many months about what would be the best way to do this. And it culminated in MITx, and MIT launched MITx in December of 2011. And MITx was, think of it as an online virtual MIT, where we would put complete courses online. And unlike anything happening at that time, whether OpenCourseWare or other public offerings of content, here we would have a discussion forum integrated with the course, courses. We would have a certificate, a credential from MITx as part of it. We would have virtual simulation-based laboratories as part of it, and really create a cutting-edge experience for learners. And so that's how we began with the work at edX, starting with some skunkworks projects at MIT that started 15 years ago, and then we started off at MITx. MIT and Harvard leadership were talking to each other, and they came together, and we launched edX very formally as a nonprofit open source learning platform in 2012, in May of 2012.
Very interesting. And why did you do this? What's so important about education today? Why did we need this model?
Education is a right, and everybody should have access to quality education like the air we breathe. When MIT created OpenCourseWare, the idea was to make available course materials to everybody in the world for free that wanted to learn. And so this was a natural step, and both MIT and Harvard felt that increasing access to education for learners all over the world was a very, very important goal. And if we could do that through technology, then we should. And so, I too was certainly very much in sync with that message. And that is why we launched edX, where we believe that if we can provide increased access to education for learners all over the world, we should do so. And we announced that we would like to educate 1 billion students, through edX over time. And we're very excited to do so. Education is very important for everybody. And if we can create online content from world-class institutions like MIT and Harvard and Oxford and others, and if learners can learn all of that material and improve their lives, and if we can do so, we should do so.
Absolutely. And so, how do you do this? What would you describe as the main elements that make edX work?
The big word you hear today in industry is platform company. Platforms, whether it's Uber or Airbnb or edX, are platform companies. In a platform company, what you do, a platform enterprise, what you do is you have customers that want to use the good, and they all come together on a platform. On edX, we have 120 university and institutional partners that have content, and they create courses on edX. And we have grown to more than 10 million students from every single country in the world. And they come to edX and find these courses, tell each other about it, and they discover edX, and they come and learn on edX for free. If they want a credential, they pay a modest fee of $50 or $100. And so this platform nature has really enabled us to offer this kind of education to people all over the world. edX also works with our partner universities. We have several partners in Canada as well. For example, University of British Columbia, University of Toronto, McGill, where we're also working with all our partners around the world in thinking about how universities and education can transform itself digitally. Every field known to mankind is being digitally transformed, and so should universities, so should our education system. And we are collaborating with the partners to think about what should this digital transformation look like? What are the new credentials of the digital age? How are students going to learn in the digital age? And so, edX is the lightning rod in that sense, driving those conversations forward. We are a nonprofit, and we have also made a platform, a software platform, available for free to the whole world as open source software.
So, what can you do in courses with technology now that you couldn't do in the past? Are these presumably are not courses that are identical to what you would see inside a classroom? How do they compare?
Great question. Really, this platform and so the future of education in terms of technology-enabled education really came together because of many technologies that came together about 5 or 7 years ago: cloud computing, social networking, video distribution at scale, simulation-based gaming, and so on. So what we can do today through technology enables features and values for students that will simply boggle the mind. I'll give you an example. We are all used to doing homework. When I was an undergraduate at IIT Madras, I would submit a homework, and if you were lucky, you would get it back 2 weeks later. And by that time, you've forgotten about it, and you're not interested in it. It's kind of gone. With online learning, we can get instant feedback. A learner submits the answer to a problem, and on edX, we can grade all kinds of problems with equations, and we can grade. MIT is doing a course with graphs. We can do linear algebra. It's possible to do image responses and drag and drop and all kinds of things. Even essay responses and so on. When a student submits an answer, the computer is able to grade them instantly. And because of that instant grading, the learner, the student, gets immediate feedback. That's a big value to the student. Now, doing a homework takes on a game-like benefit, and they keep working hard and trying until they get the answer. In fact, we can allow them to submit an answer 3, 4, 20, 25 times and keep grading them instantly. Isn't that cool? And imagine if I had a homework, I had a TA sitting next to me that could keep grading me instantly, as I do it. It gives me more encouragement to get things right. If I get things wrong, I say, heck, what's going on here? That's why people find video games so enticing, because they get instant feedback. So that is just one thing we can do with online technology. We can do so much more. I can do things like with video. When's the last time you were able to pause a professor in the classroom?
Yeah.
But with video, I can pause, I can rewind. Some students are rewinding 5, 7, 8 times at various points. You can watch them at any time at midnight. We see the biggest downloads of videos around midnight and at 2 a.m. We can do things like have students collaborating from all over the world, not just in the local geography. We can capture questions and answers on a discussion forum. A lot of students are telling us that they go to the forum with a question, but they find that it is already answered. So it already captures the answer. These are just some examples of what is possible with online education that we've simply not been able to do in the past.
Wonderful, and we're starting to see some examples of things like that at Waterloo now. Clearly, and you probably have experienced this, some faculty members are very positive about the new world that we're moving into. Others feel that the application of technology to learning creates education that is in some way inferior to what we would see in a traditional classroom. How do you respond to that type of argument?
I would love to brainstorm with the faculty. I'm a faculty member myself. I've been teaching at MIT for 30 years. And one of the beauties about being a faculty member is that I think the debate and discussion is so much a part of our culture and ethos. Imagine if you get 100 faculty in a room and they all agreed on something. We would not call them faculty. I think debate and questioning and finding the right answers is part of what we do. And so I think this is a very interesting debate. I think I've had enough experience with this now, where we have enough data to show that even a purely online experience can be equal to or better than a purely campus experience. There's ample data now to show that a blended experience, where you blend, or a hybrid experience, where you blend the online and in person, can actually be better than purely online or in person. And in fact, last semester, I teach a circuits course on edX from MIT. And for the first time last semester, 27 MIT students took the edX course completely online on edX.
Wonderful.
And they did the videos, the online exams, exercises completely online. It's just that they would come to a classroom and they would do the exams with a student, a TA proctor, who would be standing there watching while the students did the exam online. And then we also had a professor and a TA who were available with office hours if students had any questions. There was no required physical components. And I'd like to send you a link to a blog post.
Please.
Written by a student from that class called Kenneth Friedman. You just have to read the blog post. Don't ask me. Don't ask my professor colleagues. Just go to the learners. What's in the best interest of learners, and just read what the learner has to say.
Wonderful.
And I think at the end of the day, we need to go and ask our learners. I think we faculty members can argue and debate till we're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, we need to look at what the learners are getting value from, how are they learning, what's in their best interest, and we should try to evolve our education using technology in a way that helps everybody.
Yeah, I certainly see a lot of enthusiasm for it in the classes where it's adopted at Waterloo. One concern that I've also seen expressed is that within the education market today, we're seeing a range of online providers, some of which are low quality and some of which are higher quality, which clearly edX would be. How do you distinguish yourself within this market where, to some degree, perhaps the consumer or the student has little knowledge about the quality of the different products? How do you present yourselves as being of good quality alongside other product which is perhaps less so?
I think, in terms of the last question, there is online learning and there is online learning. Clearly, online learning done poorly is terrible. Similarly, poor classroom teaching is terrible. If you have a great teacher, whether you put her or him online or in person, it will be a great experience for the learner. And so the quality of the platform, the quality of the teacher, the quality of the content, the quality of the pedagogies are all very important, particularly online. Because if online learning is all about watching a 1 hour video and multiple choice, heck, you may as well close your notebook and go home. So I think it's really important to have high quality online education. And on edX, as an example, we work closely with our university partners to create very high quality experiences involving video-based simulation and laboratories. Very rich problem types that go well beyond multiple choice. They go into things like essays and, as I said, equations and many different problem types, not just multiple choice. You can do not just videos of a professor teaching using PowerPoint slides, on a screen, but maybe discussions, maybe in-person interviews, all kinds of creative approaches to teaching and learning. And so good online learning involves all of these components, involves rich assessments, quality assessments. It needs a good quality discussion forum. It needs areas on edX. We also have a feature where learners can form small groups and do group projects together. It's called Teams on edX. So all of these features make for a good learner experience and good learning quality. And so it's very important to keep that bar high, because otherwise, online learning can be terrible.
Absolutely. And you offer courses now at little or no cost to the people who take them. What's your financial model? How is this sustainable over time?
So we are a nonprofit, and we are learners can take our courses for free. It's a big important part of our mission. Frankly, it's somewhat unfortunate that most of our competitors, all for profit, have pivoted in recent times for the past couple of years, and free content is now very hard to come by. But at edX, we're committed to free content, and people can learn for free. So but even though we're a nonprofit, we want to be sustainable, and we charge for verified certificates, whether it's $50 or $100. And we've also launched a new credential called the MicroMasters, where a MicroMasters is about 25% to 50% of a master's degree. It's a very innovative new credential for the digital age, where learners feel that there's no way, once they have a family, there's no way they can go back for higher education to do a one-year master's at a university. But they're very comfortable doing a MicroMasters, which is free to learn. But if you want the MicroMasters credential from University of British Columbia or MIT, then you pay about $1,000 for the credential. And we are seeing this model being quite successful, where learners are paying for this credential. At the same time, we have also launched edX for Business, where we work with corporates. And corporates are looking to digitally transform their own employee training and reskilling and education. and they are buying bulk enrollments for certificates within edX. Companies like Boeing and Microsoft and others, and that is another win-win situation where the companies get very cutting-edge learning for their employees, and it's another revenue source for edX. So we are pretty comfortable that between our B2B and B2C, we will have enough revenue to be self-sustaining over the next few years.
Good news. And what do you see as the future for traditional universities? How do you think that they'll be impacted by new models of education? And will the classroom model that we see today continue to exist, or will it be something quite different?
I really think that as we work with our partners and others, the universities will be digitally transformed, much like all enterprises are being digitally transformed. Universities will also be digitally transformed, and we are working with the partners to innovate and create new models of digital education. And the MicroMasters is one example where you get a MicroMasters for about $1,000. And the part I didn't mention was if you then get admission into a university, then let's say it's a MicroMasters in Artificial Intelligence from Columbia on edX. If they get admission into Columbia University, that MicroMasters will count towards a master's degree on campus. So I believe that universities are digitally transforming themselves into new models of learning for the 21st century, where learners will have more choice. You could get a MicroMaster from Columbia or MIT or UBC just by learning online. Or if you want to then parlay that to credit on campus and continue your education on campus for a full master's, you will be able to do that. So we will see similar models. We've also launched a new stacked credential degree with Georgia Tech in analytics. So you can now do an analytics MicroMasters on edX from Georgia Tech. And then if you apply to Georgia Tech, get admission into the master's degree program, you can complete a full master's in analytics also on edX. And so you could complete a master's degree. So this is an approach which is, think of it as unbundling education, where everything was bundled before, full master's degree, full time on campus. What we're doing is creating more choice for learners and being learner-centric. Learners want more modular education. You got it. Learners want to spend some time on campus, some time at the workplace. You got it. Learners want more smaller credentials. You got it. So this is the digital age, and we are working with universities to come up with new transformed models of education. And I believe the key word that I think of is unbundled and rebundled to benefit the learner, where universities will unbundle their offerings, allowing learners to pick a piece, not the whole thing, whether it's in time or it's in content, and do some parts online, some parts of the university, and really create this new hybrid university of the 21st century. So I'm convinced that universities will be around. I think there was a lot of hype initially in MOOCs, where some of the early MOOC providers, I think, were a little too bombastic in proclaiming the death of the university. I think there was much hype. I believe that universities will transform themselves, and I think in a few decades you won't recognize them. Will we have classrooms at universities? My personal opinion is that universities will have at least one classroom, so that they can at least show students, this is where we collected everybody in the old days, and they all sat on neat little rows and watched the lecture. And so I believe that universities will transform themselves into having spaces, discussion spaces, where people will congregate and discuss and have learning spaces with online technology and collaboration technology. And we may even have some labs where people have to go in and do physical labs. But the classroom as a central meeting ground in universities will change, I'm convinced, and will convert into more flexible spaces for learning, including virtual spaces.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense as well. So is there a particular pedagogy that edX use? do you have a specific approach to course design that is followed in all of the courses that are offered, or do you adopt a more flexible approach to the design of courses?
We have a basic, so our platform is built around a basic pedagogy called active learning. And most courses have many components of active learning. But there's so many pedagogies, and we are in the early days of digital exploration. And so our platform allows many pedagogies, many people to explore and experiment. An open source platform allows people to develop their own and plug them into edX. But the central approach within edX that edX supports as part of a platform set is active learning, where it's sort of Socratic method, where you interleave short videos with interactive exercises or interactive discussions, so that a student might watch a short video and then solve a small finger exercise. If they didn't get it, then go back and watch the video. If they got it, then go to the next topic. And so this is the concept of active learning, where you're engaged as you learn. And our platform supports that through the user interface of the platform. And we didn't discover active learning. Active learning has been known in the education community. I think the landmark paper in 1972 by Carr and Lockhart was the first one to talk about it. And it's been known to improve learning outcomes. Now, that said, on the edX platform, many other pedagogies can be used. So many courses use mastery learning, where a student goes to the next topic only when they mastered the previous topic. So there's quite a few modes that people experiment with. But active learning is sort of the central pedagogical philosophy behind the platform.
Thank you. And the role of the professor in a course, are they active in the course delivery, or are they separated from it in the sense that they create materials that are then independently pursued by the student?
It's another great question, Peter. In the past, I talk about unbundling. In the past, when we thought of education, everybody was all things to all people. So a professor was all things to all people. So as a professor at MIT, for instance, a typical professor would do research, would write a textbook, would create the content for a new course, would teach the new course, would teach recitation sections for the course, would hold office hours and be helper of the students, do grading. So a professor would do everything. Now, some professors like some parts, they're good at some parts, some don't like other parts, they're not so good at other parts. So what online learning and digital technology allows you to do is even unbundle these functions. If you don't like to grade, heck, you can use a computer to do the grading for you. Some professors love to create new material and content, but they can create the course. Some professors simply do not like standing in front of a large classroom. They just do not like to be teaching to 200 or 300 or 400 students. But you don't have to do that. Some professors like to teach in groups of 2 and 3. And so this approach allows professors and instructors and students to find their best sweet spot, so to speak. And so with edX courses, what typically happens is that a professor or a group of professors and teaching assistants will create the content for a course. And then when the course is offered, the same professor might also help guide the students, or it could be another TA, or it could be another professor who could be helping the students and instructing the students and helping them learn. That new professor may also be creating content. So it really changes the role of a professor from being universally a sage on the stage to more of a guide on the side, so to speak.
Yep. And so you probably have some feedback now, you probably quite a lot of feedback now, on the student experience of edX courses. What are they telling you about what they're experiencing?
Peter, I will point you to the blog post written by Kenneth Friedman at MIT, and I will send you, I will send you that link, and it encapsulates the student's experience as to what he liked and didn't like. He talks about sitting in the MIT on an MIT lawn with his laptop in the afternoon, saying, "Hey, this is my new classroom. This is 21st century education at MIT, and he loves the instant feedback. He loves being able to breeze through videos that he knows about already. He loves to go slower through content that he's unfamiliar with. The flexibility. I mean, today's millennial generation are not like me. They learn differently. They're very comfortable learning online. They want to learn at their own pace. They don't like the one size fits all. They like things being personalized. They like to go fast or go slow. It's a different world today, and frankly, people like me are a misfit in this new world. But my children tell me this every single day, and so they're completely different, and they like this. And so students are telling us they love instant gratification through the instant feedback and problem sets. They love this video and music-based simulations. In fact, one student in my course told me was that I did not know what the heck the lab was talking about, but heck, I really enjoyed the reggae music in this lab. So students like the discussions. And one MIT student told me that at MIT, you would have to go and make an appointment with the TA, and it might take you 48 hours to hopefully get a question answered. However, online, the student went to the discussion forum on edX, and they posted the question. And even in the very first course that we taught on edX, the median time to answering a question was 11 minutes. And so the responses are instant. Students also like the fact that they can have discussions with people from New Zealand or US or Colombia or Pakistan, and particularly courses that involve topics that are universal. It's amazing to get people from all over the world sitting around and having these discussions. Students really love that broad perspective, and particularly in today's climate, I think this kind of universal education involving people from all over the world can really help bring us out of our jingoistic attitudes of heck, I'm going to wear blinders and just look at the world that I see, but instead listen to the perspectives of people all over the world, even in the context of courses. Students absolutely love that. They like getting a credential. They like being able to pace themselves. They like to take longer or less time. I mean, but why should every homework take a week? Sometimes they spend 3 weeks, and sometimes they can breeze through it in 30 minutes. Why should each lecture take 1 hour? People love to watch videos in short bursts and rewind it as many times as they want. When people watched my videos, they told me that they love to watch me at 2 times the speed and shut and mute the audio and read the transcript. So even as you watch this video of me talking here, if you're a student listening, what are you doing? Have you sped me up and muted me and reading the transcript? A good question to ask yourself. And students like that as well.
Yeah, I had a student post in one of my courses the other day asking if I would give them permission to tell their fellow students about a tip they had for how to download the lecture, which was recorded, and then play it more quickly and find the parts that they wanted to listen to, and be able to, manipulate it more easily than they could otherwise. And I found that quite interesting. So I think I hear what you say.
Peter. Very quickly.
Yeah.
This can be very helpful for professors as well. I know most of our conversation has been what's good for the students, but as a professor, much as I think students enjoy my theatrics when I stand in front of a lecture hall with 300 students, I think I enjoy those theatrics, of course. But that said, online learning has been very rewarding for me as a professor as well, where I can now create and do a really good job of creating the content, and then I can focus on all my additional effort goes in improving the content. I don't have to re-deliver the same thing over and over and over and over and over again till I'm absolutely bored and blue in the face. Now I can focus my effort on improving things. So just as an example, even though my circuits course was created, the online course was created 5 years ago now, and 300,000 students have taken it online. Right this minute, I'm recording a new video to explain a concept that students are having a difficulty with. So I can focus on new ways of doing things and continually improving. and sort of bring this engineering practice into education where we can continually improve things. A second place where this is helping a lot is on edX, we provide analytics for professors. We have a dashboard that enables professors to see all the analytics for their students. But just as one example, one analytic is called video analytics. So for every video, I can see for each point in the video, how many students watched it at that point. I can see how many students rewound it at that point. And if a students are rewinding a video a lot at a given point, it tells me something. Maybe something is not clear, or maybe something is really hard, or maybe it was very funny. I hope that, but who knows? It gives a lot of feedback. Previously, we had no feedback at all on how we lectured or how we taught. So this can be very helpful for professors too.
Yeah, I use some of the analytics that we've got in our learning management system to design exams. It lets you see where people have spent more time and where they've spent less time, and lots of things we can use that for. The last question I've got is on students who might be graduating today or in the near future, and advice that you might have for them about their future education. These days, they'll be more conscious perhaps than they were in the past of the need to continually keep their skills up to date and to move into new areas as the world changes. Do you have advice for them about that, about what the world will be like, the education will be like that they might be moving into?
The whole world is changing before our eyes. In the past, we would learn at the age of 18 for 4 years and work for the rest of our lives. It's almost like with missiles, you fire and forget. But today, we live in a different world. The jobs are in topic areas that did not even exist 10 years ago. So for example, that there are hundreds of thousands of jobs in data science in the US today. The word data science did not exist 10 years ago. So new exciting fields are burgeoning. And this model of education where you learn and work is changing. And we need to move to a model where we become continuous learners all through our lives. And the MicroMasters credential that I talked about is an answer to that question, where instead of going to university and spending 1 year or 2 years to get a master's degree once in your life, you can learn online and be earning MicroMasters in 3 months, 6 months from some of the top universities. And you can do that every few years and keep yourself abreast of the latest trends and topics. Instead of having the impossible task of learning by going back to university for 2 years, which is just impossible to do when you have much of a family, you're earning, and you're employed. There's just no way. And so this model of continuous learning will be important. So my advice to students today is learn how to learn online. Learn how to learn. And that will really help you for the rest of your lives, as you will see more and more opportunities to gain cutting-edge knowledge completely online at very low cost in the future.
Well, thank you, Anant. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and to all the people who will watch this video at some point in the future. It's been very valuable, and I think will be very valuable for my class, and it will also be very valuable for others at the University of Waterloo who are looking into the future and thinking about how we can do things better. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Peter. It was great chatting with you. And I look forward to keeping in touch, and all the best.
Yes, me too. All the best to you too. Bye now.
Bye-bye.